Hey there friends, how's it going? This video is a culmination of my journey to beat Blue Rescue Team without gaining any experience points. This challenge is very simple. I must beat Rayquaza without gaining experience. If I gain EXP, I need to reset to the last save that I made. I cannot use Wonder Mail to give myself items, and I can't use Quick Save manipulation during the course of this run. Let's go through my adventure and suffering so I can show you how this is possible. Before we do, it would mean a whole bunch to me if you could like the video and subscribe. A ridiculous amount of time and work went into this run, so I really hope you enjoy. And liking and subscribing is the best way to show me what kind of content you want to see in the future. So grab your snacks, sit back, and enjoy, because this has been a long time coming. EXP is such a core part of this game and any Pokemon game, so it may initially seem impossible to go through the game without gaining any. Sure, you can hope that RNG will be in your favor and just make a break for the stairs each floor, and sure, you may get lucky on that here or there, but this is Mystery Dungeon we're talking about. Our hopes and dreams are eventually going to be crushed. Yeah, let's just do that. Wait, what the f? Are you telling me that they don't have Item Master and I can't pull that shit? What a piece of shit game. There are a ton of situations that can force us to reset the game, but the biggest one is getting blocked off in hallways, since if you're surrounded on all sides by Pokemon, the main way of escape is by knocking them out, which we just can't do. So unfortunately, for the time being, we're just gonna have to hope that the RNG gods will let us off without any trouble here. Tiny Woods, the first dungeon of the game, is thankfully filled with non-threatening Pokemon that we can most of the time just navigate around. With a little luck, we can get through this dungeon just fine without knocking out enemy Pokemon and gaining EXP. As for my choice in starter Pokemon using Meowth and Charmander, I will get to that in just a little bit. After we save Caterpie from getting looked at too hard by Sunkern and bring him back to Butterfree, our partner Pokemon, who also happens to be a wealthy landlord, brings us into town and gives us an entire house to stay in. We pass the night and receive our toolbox and also our rescue team badge, so we can then receive the request from Magnemite to help them in Thunderwave Cave. While slightly more challenging than Tiny Woods, we also don't have too much trouble going through Thunderwave Cave. Again, we just need a little luck to make it to the stairs unopposed, and after a couple of resets, the mission is complete, and the game opens up to us considerably. Given that we were able to complete these two dungeons without many concerns, this is where we'll be completing a majority of our required missions from the board outside the Pelipper post office. Looking ahead to Mount Steel, though, a slight problem is in sight. Skarmory. Presenting us with the first required boss fight of the game, we cannot progress further in the game until we defeat this metal bird. So unfortunately, here is where the run ends, is what I would love to say. What follows to prepare for the Skarmory fight is hours of grinding and farming for items that can help us not only complete Mount Steel itself, but actually defeat Skarmory without gaining any EXP. In Red and Blue Rescue Team, there is actually a slight oversight that allows you to defeat enemies without gaining EXP. If an enemy faints to poison or burn damage, you will not be credited for the knockout blow, and thusly won't get any XP for it. That's great and all, but sadly we have absolutely no way of burning Skarmory at this point in the game. Any status moves given to starter Pokemon are gained through leveling up, which we simply can't do. As for items, looking at Tiny Woods and Thunderwave Cave, our options are super limited. With all that said, the odds seem completely stacked against us for finding a way to knock out Skarmory while following the rules of this challenge. However, there is a way. It's time for us to think outside the box, or the dungeon. After Thunderwave Cave is completed, we gain the ability to enter in Wondermail codes. Now, at the start I said we aren't allowed to Wondermail in items to help us with the run, but I never said anything about using Wondermail to unlock new dungeons for us to go to. Since these dungeons are unlocked by codes that were officially released by Nintendo, I consider these to be fair game since I didn't generate anything to access them. Thankfully, even though there are 4 Wondermail dungeons of the game are filled with Pokemon that are leveled up to the mid-30s, there is no flag or check preventing us from unlocking them and going into them at this stage of the game. And dear Arceus, I wish there was, because this leads us to the most mind-numbingly awful part of this entire run: the item grind. With Oddity Cave, Fantasy Strait, Remains Island, and Marvelous Sea unlocked, it's time to begin the next stage of this run. In these dungeons lie everything we will need to complete this challenge. In Marvelous Sea, we can find items like the Warp Scarf and X-Ray Specs, which are pretty much essential in this run for navigating around enemies. The only issue is that if you encounter an enemy Pokemon in any of these dungeons, you are pretty much dead. Here is where Meowth comes in. Meowth has the ability Pickup, which allows me to have a chance at the start of entering a dungeon of picking up any item that that dungeon has in its normal item pool. This means that if I bring an escape orb with me into the dungeon, I can continually go in, activate Pickup, and then check the item for something important. If the item I got isn't worth it, I can reset the game and try again until I get something worth escape orbing for. The reason I picked Charmander, however, will become much more clear later on in the run. With our game plan ready and our eyes set on some rare held items, we were ready to begin. Marvelous Sea, which for now is the only dungeon we need to use, also has some amazing orbs in it, including other escape orbs. This allows me to start something of a snowball effect. Whenever I find another escape orb, I grab as many items as I can from the dungeon, and then escape as soon as I run into danger. This allows me to build up a hoard of valuable items that I can either sell or use later on in the run. Eventually, I end up with enough money to buy an Attract TM from the Kecleon shop, which greatly helps with my survivability in this dungeon. Now, if I'm in a situation that would normally result in me fainting, I can attract the enemy and run away, buying myself a little bit more time to find those rare items. Soon after this, I find a Trawl Orb, which is absolutely amazing for what we're doing. Now, not only can I activate Pickup at the start of the dungeon, but I can now also use the Trawl Orb to bring everything else on the floor to me. Again, if there's nothing worth more than the Trawl Orb that I use to see the items, I can just reset and try again. Using this method after many, many hours, I finally pick up a Warp Scarf, some X-Ray Specs, and a ton of items and money to fund my journey. While I also thought the Pass Scarf would be essential for this run, it ended up not proving very useful during this stage. Now, with the X-Ray Specs and Warp Scarf in tow, we have some amazing utility items to help us survive the dungeons ahead and avoid enemy Pokemon. However, we still do not have a way of dealing with Skarmory yet. There are no items or TMs that we can currently get to that can burn our metal adversary. Except for one. Further calling upon the RNG gods to help me on this run, I start the search for my salvation. I started looking for a grimy food trap. Traveling now to the dungeon Remains Island, there is about a 6% chance for any given trap you step on to be a grimy food trap. So, I did what any normal player does and start stepping on every floor tile of big rooms that I can find, with a bunch of apples in my inventory. After many more hours of searching, I find one. By repeatedly activating the trap, I am able to fill my inventory with grimy food and leave, finally giving me the tools I need to get past Skarmory. With my stock of weaponized food poisoning and my powerful gear, I am now able to make my way through Mount Steel. With well-timed use of the Warp Scarf, the move Attract, a ton of Reviver Seeds, and by using the X-Ray Specs to look and see where I am going, the dungeon is not able to do very much to stop my advance. After hours of grinding, I have finally made it to Skarmory. With 2 well-placed graveler rocks and a little luck from my grimy food stash, we are able to burn the metal bird and finally claim our victory.
Okay. So, there we go. We just beat Skarmory without gaining any XP. That's how that works. So that's why we needed grimy food.
Rescuing Diglett, we finally return triumphant to our base. My victory finally complete. I celebrate the completion of this first big milestone in our run. Little did I know, though, that this is as far as I would get for an entire year. Getting this far without abusing Wondermail is by no means a small achievement, but Mount Steel is nothing compared to what lies in wait for me after completing my required rescue missions. Ahead lies the hardest dungeon of this entire challenge. Not Sky Tower or Magma Cavern, but Sinister Woods. One boss was hard enough as it is, but now facing Team Meanies, I have to deal with 3 bosses at the same time. At first glance, it seems as though we can abuse the same strategies we used for defeating Skarmory, using grimy food to burn or poison our enemies. However, when looking a bit closer at the boss fight at the end of Sinister Woods, a couple of problems arise. The first and biggest problem is simply luck. I have absolutely no control over what effects the grimy food dish out, and I would need to get lucky 3 times in a row with my limited supply of grimy food. If I filled my inventory completely with the forbidden fruit of the ground, I would have no room for my utility items or my reviver seeds, making getting through the dungeon itself incredibly challenging. The other issue, though, is Ekans. With the ability Shed Skin, even if I am able to burn him, it'll simply go away after a few turns, meaning the only hope of knocking out Ekans with a status condition is by getting him down to exactly 5 health or less, and then burning him exactly when I needed it, which simply wasn't going to happen while also dealing with Medicham and Gengar. Despite all the work I had done to get these powerful items, I knew it wasn't going to be enough, and after failing multiple times to complete this boss fight with what I had, I was starting to lose hope. I ended up taking a much-needed break from this challenge as it was starting to get soul-draining, but when I returned, I began planning how I was going to get past Gengar and his 2 cronies. I decided that brute force was not the way. Instead, I needed my wits to win this fight. So, naturally, I spent the next 16 hours of the run doing only one thing. I needed to max out my IQ. Orange Gummy, let's go! We're done! Super Mobile! Yes! Alright, yeah, let's just break a bunch of walls.
Yes.
GG, guys.
We did it.
There we go. By laying waste to Mount Steel's gummy population, I became so smart that I could break walls with my mind. And break walls I would. I used Super Mobile to outmaneuver enemies and make my way deeper into the Wondermail dungeons. For inside the walls of Remains Island awaited my next prize. With my current moves, there is no way that I can defeat Team Meanies, so I needed to dig deep to find some of the most powerful items in the game. In the Wondermill dungeons, there are 2 places that you can find some amazing TMs. In the walls of Remains Island from floors 10 and above, and in the Monster House rooms found in Fantasy Straits. There were 3 moves that I had my sights set on: Protect, Toxic, and Flamethrower. By spamming the move Protect along with my other moves, I would gain just a bit more survivability in my fight against Team Meanies. The move Toxic was my ace in the hole for knocking Medicham out of the fight super early on, allowing me to focus solely on Gengar and Ekans. And lastly, the move Flamethrower, which, when taught to Charmander, would allow me to have a chance at burning my enemies from far away before they can get close to me. I would use the move's Frustration in return to deal exact amounts of damage during the fight, so I can dish out a well-timed burn against Ekans and lower Medicham and Gengar's health to make them succumb to their burns and poison faster. That's all well and good in theory, but unfortunately actually getting these TMs is a completely different story. I would end up spending the next 30 hours of gameplay of this run getting all of the TMs that I needed. Remains Island is a truly miserable dungeon to try and play through. It is essentially a reskin of Pitfall Valley, which means the enemy spawn rates are through the roof. To even get a chance at farming for these rare TMs, I needed to make it to floor 10, which in itself was a challenge. When I did make it that far into the dungeon, I would use an interesting strategy to hunt for TMs undisturbed. By digging out a little cubby for my partner Pokemon, I could lure in an enemy and hit it with a Petrify Orb, effectively creating a place where my partner Pokemon could stay safely while I hunted for TMs. At times, I also used the Kecleon friend glitch so I could have a bodyguard while plundering the walls of Remains Island. I was also able to find a one-room orb in the walls of the dungeon that helped me greatly in my hunt for the TM Protect. I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on this grind, because sifting through over a day of gameplay has been a huge reason this video hasn't come out sooner. I was truly miserable at this point in the run, and got incredibly discouraged while hunting for the essential Toxic TM. While hunting for my Protect TMs, I actually found a Toxic TM, but for reasons unknown to me at this point, I reset over it, which would lead to me spending nearly an extra day of gameplay on this run to try and find it again. But finally, I found something amazing.
Yeah, I always do too, yeah. Which I guess is kind of the point, because it's like it's masquerade. I always love ruining Pokemon names for Miss Staldy, because I just tell her what they mean. What the hell? Oh my god! Holy shit! We found it! Oh my god, we found it! It's there! We got it! We finally have it! Oh my god! We found it! There. And now I'm gonna... Oh my god, we found it, we found it, we found it. Oh my god.
After the longest grind of this run yet, I found my 2 Protect TMs and a Toxic TM, as well as a whopping 3 Flamethrower TMs, all of which would be essential in helping me overcome the battle ahead of me. With my new moves and new resolve to finally beat this challenge, I geared up and entered Sinister Woods for the last time in a search for vengeance. And after digging through the walls of the dungeon to get to the stairs, I finally made it to Team Meanies. Here is how the final fight went.
All right. So for starters here, yeah, Charmander's just going to stick with that. What I am going to do is I'm going to start with Grimy Food on Gengar. And he caught it. Okay. That's cool. Do this. Attract, Protect. Yeah, poison him. I wish I could poison him. I'm gonna move. So Medicham is literally almost dead here. Okay, so Charmander, gonna swatch onto Flamethrower here. Attract. Going for Ekans, okay. So that's -2 health. So Metacham is dead. That is the first time we have done that in like 5 turns. No, stop that. This is such a waste. Okay, we have 6 more Reviver Seeds. Please just die. Come on, man. Damn. Okay. What did I lose PP on? Of course I did. So I now need to... I'm just going to confuse Gengar. Okay. Okay, Gengar is dead. Oh my god. Okay. So that just leaves Ekans here with 54 HP. Now this is where things get not so poggers. Alright, I guess we try this. No! It recovered from the burn. Holy shit. If it did not get Shed Skin that turn, we would have won. Oh my god, that is horrible. That is so sad. Oh my god. So now we're both protected. Now he can just waste turns, but what I want to try and do is feed him the grimy food. Okay, that's actually super good. Oh my god! We did it! Chat, we did it! Oh my god! We actually did it! Oh my god! There's Metapod after like a literal year. We have been working on this slowly for over a year, and we are finally past this point. You have no idea how good this feels right now, guys. This is insane. Thank you guys so much for being here with me right now.
I had done it, just like that. After nearly a year and a half from the starting point of this run, Team Meanies, the biggest obstacle in this entire challenge, was finally out of my way. From here, nothing could stop me. I was on a roll now, and I was keen on finishing the rest of this run in one fell swoop. So, I did. Sky Tower presents us with a bit more of a challenge than the other dungeons due to a new threat, Ghost-type Pokemon. Enemies that can move through walls in this challenge are hard to do anything about, so using the X-ray specs, we had to avoid them at all costs. If we did run into one, we had to knock it out with Toxic and Frustration, or we had to run for it after using Attract. But whichever one we chose, it's important that we acted fast to avoid more ghosts tracking us down. Monster houses in this dungeon with Pokemon like Scizor that can use Agility were also something to keep an eye out for, while also staying away from Dusclops with its Pressure ability and Pokemon with Silver Winds. But eventually we were able to make it through the dungeon with only a few Reviver Seeds lost. With a little bit of a break before moving on to the next part of the dungeon, we put a save down at the Kangaskhan statue and steeled ourselves for the final stretch. While initially I thought the 9 floors of Sky Tower's summit would be miserable to go through, I quickly realized, due to the way that this dungeon is built, that we can completely avoid enemy Pokemon with Super Mobile, just going from room to room instead of needing to even set foot on the main path, which circles around the entire floor. With my excitement building to finally be done with this challenge, we eventually made it to Rayquaza. Here is how our final battle went.
All right. Let me get my calculator set back up here.
Don't mind me just lurking in the corner. Maybe I'll be good luck. Probably. But maybe.
Probably not. Oh no. All right, eat the banana this time, please. No, he just caught it. Oh well, I'll save it for later. All right, it begins. Yeah, for after we kill him. To be fair, he's kind of a jerk. Oh, that's not good. Alright. Nope, that was the wrong move. Well, hopefully I get Protect back up, yeah. We'll just let Charmander keep on doing that. I don't really care. Doesn't really hurt anything. Oh my gosh, we're so close. I really don't want to screw this up. I hope I am calculating everything right, because that would be horrible just to kill him and gain XP from it. Okay, there's a Reviver Seed. Alright, this is the last return I can use on him. Okay. He has about 45 health left, so it's gonna need to be 7 ticks of toxic damage. So that's 14 turns. Alright. I'll throw a gold ribbon at him. Okay, we're super close. I am actually going... Okay, I'm just going to let Charmander delink that, because it doesn't matter anymore. I think he's almost dead. Yes! We did it! We did it! We beat Blue Rescue Team without gaining any experience points. This is a journey that was a year in the making. And he dropped a banana on the ground. Thank you, everybody, for being here with me while I did this. This is a huge accomplishment.
It was done. I finally won. With Rayquaza defeated and the meteor stopped, my journey was over. I had completed the main story of Blue Rescue Team without gaining a single experience point. While the journey had its ups and downs, I had some unforgettable moments during this playthrough that I will look back on fondly for a long time. I want to thank all of you so much for watching and also for hanging out with me on stream during this adventure. Looking back on the run, it was definitely worth it thanks to this time that I got to spend with all of you along the way. Be sure to follow me on Twitch to see me go live in the future. While I'm currently taking an extended break from Mystery Dungeon to explore my newfound passion for shiny hunting, I'm sure I will be back at it again one day. As always, friends, thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day. Until next time.